Yes, this is Empire Crypto TV. Welcome all of you, you Empire Crypto watchers, all of you who are out there who are attending the show. This is Africa, and we're in the afternoon, and you are watching a very specific broadcast today that is going to be based on the man that's just on my side of the screen, talking about the tech giant himself, Bill Gates himself. So I'm going to just share a short story with the man himself and the challenges and the Microsoft company evolution, how they came out to being. This is a tech giant edition. I'll be doing more and more editions because I've done an edition of tech giants before, but I feel like I didn't go into detail about any specific individual. But this time around, we are looking at someone who started it all, the Microsoft and the software that we are using at this point in time, everywhere in our computer system. So do sit back and tight, and please do pay attention to this broadcast, to this history broadcast about Bill Gates and the Microsoft evolution here at Empire Crypto TV. My name is Stone, and I'm alone here. The Crypto King is taking a break a little bit, but he's gonna be in and out of the show now and then. But please, after that, we're gonna go straight into the markets. We're gonna just analyze on the markets, talking about what the latest in Russia, on the stocks, and of course on the cryptocurrency space, particularly the Bitcoin markets. So for now, please sit tight and let us just pay attention to this broadcast of Bill Gates. That's gonna be like at least a little over 18 minutes long. So thank you very much for joining me tonight, and please do enjoy the broadcast.
Forecasting that there'll be software stores just like there are record stores today, and that there'll be thousands and thousands of those. And I think I'd have to agree with that.
Microsoft. Odds are that if you have used a computer, played video games, made a video call, or just gone on the internet, then at some point in your life you have used a Microsoft product. It is this ubiquity of its products in everyday society that has led Microsoft to becoming a trillion-dollar company today. But like with most large companies, this story started out with very humble beginnings. In fact, it started out with a couple of teenagers in high school. This is the story of Microsoft. 1968 Lakeside School, Seattle. 4 teenagers at this school had drawn interest towards their school's new computers. One of these computers was called the Teletype Model 33. They wanted to use this new machine to build computer programs that could potentially allow them to do things like play tic-tac-toe or even make their own class schedules. The trouble was that you needed to rent computer usage time, which was a hefty $40 an hour. So instead of paying that $40 an hour, they decided to exploit some bugs in these computer systems in order to use the computers for free. And for a while, things were great, and these students were able to freely program whatever they wanted. But eventually, the Computer Center Corporation caught them stealing computer usage time, and the company immediately banned these students from using their computer systems. The 4 students that were banned were named Kent Evans, Rick Weiland, Paul Allen, and Bill Gates. Soon after they were banned, they decided to form their own group called the Lakeside Programmers Club in order to make some money from their programming abilities while helping companies fix bugs in their computer systems. And the club's first customer was the Computer Center Corporation, the very same company that banned them the previous year for exposing bugs in their computer systems. Several years later, a 17-year-old Bill Gates and a 19-year-old Paul Allen made a new venture together called TrafoData, which used the newest Intel processor to turn raw traffic data into comprehensive and easy-to-read reports. The business didn't last very long because Bill Gates left to Harvard University to enroll in a pre-law program, and Paul Allen left for Washington State University to pursue a computer science degree. In 1975, Popular Electronics magazine featured a new computer called the Altair 8800 microcomputer. This was a revolutionary product that was viewed as the first commercially successful personal computer. Now, both Paul Allen and Bill Gates had caught a glimpse of the Altair issue of the Popular Electronics magazine. So the two called each other up and discussed making a basic programming language interpreter for the computer. And soon after this call ended, they ended up talking to the inventors of the Altair, who were MITS, where Gates and Allen claimed to have a working interpreter for the computer ready to go, even though this wasn't true at all. But MITS was quite interested and wanted this interpreter. So Gates immediately started working on the interpreter while Paul Allen built a simulator for the interpreter. On the way to presenting their product to MITS, the boot-up system for the interpreter still wasn't ready, so the last bit of code was actually written on the way to the meeting with MITS. And by the time they arrived at the meeting with MITS, they still hadn't run a full test of the interpreter that they had just built. So during the actual meeting, they ran their first full test where it worked perfectly. After the meeting, MITS agreed to sell Gates and Allen's interpreter product as Altair Basic. Little did the two college students know that this would be the very first product that was created by their newly named company called Microcomputer Software, known today as Microsoft. Over the next couple of years, the success of the Altair Basic made Microsoft a multi-million-dollar company. In 1980, Microsoft's revenue was nearing $30 million when they decided to open up their first international office in Japan. A year later, Gates and Allen began negotiating with the giant of the computer industry, IBM, in order to try and make Microsoft the main operating system on IBM's upcoming personal computer. Both sides agreed to a deal, but there was a problem. Once again, Gates and Allen did not have an operating system ready before making the actual deal. So what they ended up doing was buying out a standard operating system from a local computer company called Seattle Computer Products. And they bought this operating system for $75,000 and promised to pay a small royalty to the company as well. The operating system that Microsoft had bought from Seattle Computer Products was called 86-DOS, which was quickly renamed by Microsoft to MS-DOS. About a year later, in 1981, IBM launched its personal computer, which became an immediate success and made MS-DOS the dominant operating system in the world. And Microsoft didn't just license its operating system to IBM. It also licensed the operating system to over 70 other computer companies, including Compaq Computers. The only real computer company that didn't use MS-DOS at the time was another medium-sized startup computer company run by two other young men. That company was Apple Computers. Now, the dominance of MS-DOS ended up propelling Microsoft's revenue and valuations. However, there was one major setback. In 1983, just as Microsoft passed 1 million installs of MS-DOS, Paul Allen was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma and decided to leave the company. Allegedly, Bill Gates thought that Allen's stock in Microsoft should be diluted at the time because he was not working hard enough and would no longer be able to contribute to the company. Regardless, Gates didn't have too much time to focus on problems outside of Microsoft, as the company was working on a word processing program called Word, a spreadsheet program called Excel, and a graphical user interface called Windows. Now, in 1983, Apple was the only major computer company that had a graphical user interface for its computers, and Microsoft knew they needed to make their own. So 2 years later, Microsoft released Windows 1.0 in order to compete with Apple's operating system. However, Windows 1.0 wasn't a complete product and gained very little popularity at the time. And it would take many years before Windows would begin to pay dividends for the company, both figuratively and literally. But we will come back to that in a little bit. On March 13th of 1986, Microsoft had its initial public offering where the company was valued at $350 million. This made Bill Gates' net worth jump to about $150 million overnight while making many of his employees millionaires. And after the IPO, Microsoft kept adding to its software product lineup by acquiring a company called Forethought, who are known for their one key product called PowerPoint. After the acquisition of Forethought, Microsoft finally felt like they had enough individual software products to launch a package of these products called Microsoft Works, which would later inspire what is known today as Microsoft Office. This package would include Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and a few other applications. This package was also the first Microsoft product that was truly cross-platform and was available on a variety of computers like Apple computers.
Software CEO number 3, describe your ideal relationship with Apple.
Well, we'll be selling our software independently. So the key thing is that Apple gets a lot of consistent standard machines out there quickly.
The success of Microsoft Office, along with the growth of Windows and Microsoft as a whole, made Bill Gates a billionaire. In fact, he became the world's youngest self-made billionaire in history at 32 years of age in 1987. Over the next several years, Microsoft would continue to grow, expand its products line, and release new versions of Windows every single year. And this all came to a head in 1995 when Microsoft released Windows 95 to the public. Windows 95 was viewed as a revolutionary software product for its time, and it is known by many as the birth of modern-day operating systems. It was also responsible for one of the largest marketing campaigns in computer history. Microsoft spent $300 million leading up to the launch of Windows 95, and some of their advertisements were very unique, to say the least. For example, they bought 1.5 million copies of the Times and were giving them away for free. They spent money to turn the Empire State Building's lights into the colors of the Windows 95 logo. They hung a 328-foot banner from the CN Tower in Toronto. They created a 30-minute sitcom with Jennifer Aniston and Matthew Perry while making Windows 95 a primary plot point of the sitcom. And they also spent quite a bit of money licensing the song Start Me Up from the Rolling Stones and paying Jay Leno to appear at one of the most memorable product launches in history. And all of this marketing was a success, as the company sold 1 million copies of the operating system within 4 days, while doubling the company's valuation over the next couple of months. This explosion of capital allowed Microsoft to start venturing out into other areas during the 1990s. For example, 1 year after the launch of Windows 95, Microsoft launched a news channel that most of you probably don't know was 50% owned by Microsoft. The Microsoft National Broadcasting Channel, also known as MSNBC, was launched in 1996. They then created an internet browser called Internet Explorer as their standard internet browser. They invested $500 million in a new and unproven startup company called DreamWorks. They bought out nearly 10% of Apple while making Microsoft products available on Apple computers once again.
The era of setting this up as a competition between Apple and Microsoft is over as far as I'm concerned. This is about getting Apple healthy, and this is about Apple being able to make incredibly great contributions to the industry to get healthy and prosper again.
And eventually they created a few smaller subsidiaries like MSN and Expedia in 1996. Now, during this time when Microsoft was expanding into all of these other areas, their core software business was still growing rapidly. In fact, between 1996 and 1998, Microsoft's valuation had nearly quadrupled to $261 billion, while making Bill Gates the richest person in the world. However, this all came at a cost. You see, Microsoft was packaging its Internet Explorer browser with all of its Windows operating systems, while allegedly pressuring all other computer manufacturers to conform to making Windows its main operating system. This gave Microsoft between a 95% and a 98% market share of the operating system market, as well as having a similar market share for its web browser, Internet Explorer. And because of this, the United States government decided to take Microsoft to court over its monopoly-like business practices. The two sides eventually reached a settlement where Microsoft conceded that it had to open up its Windows operating system to third-party companies. The court case lasted several years and took a real toll on the company's CEO Bill Gates, who later anointed longtime Microsoft employee Steve Ballmer as the new CEO of Microsoft. Under the guidance of both Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates, who is now the chief software architect, Microsoft launched the Xbox, Windows XP, and the programming languages .NET and C#, which are used to program many websites and modern-day video games. At this point, Microsoft seemed invincible and had their hands in nearly every industry, except one: the mobile phone. Now, today you are probably using a phone that is either running on iOS or Android. And these operating systems are relatively new and weren't really created up until 2007 and 2008. But way back in 2003, Microsoft launched its mobile operating system that was called Windows Mobile. And at the time, people were predicting that Microsoft could potentially start a monopoly in the mobile phone market in a similar way to how they created their monopoly for the personal computer operating system market. but there were two things that prevented this. The first of which was that Bill Gates and Microsoft didn't think that the mobile phone market would blow up as much as it did. In fact, Bill Gates was saying at a tech conference in 2007 how people weren't going to have one single device that would do everything that you needed to do. He thought you would have one computer device for solely computer tasks, one gaming console for games, one tablet for fun, one phone solely for calling people or maybe browsing the web, and so on.
I don't think you'll have one device. I think you'll have a full screen device that you can carry around. And then you'll have the device that fits in your pocket. You'll have your living room, which is your 10-foot experience, and that's connected up to the internet. And there you'll have gaming and
maybe he was talking about
and
routers.
then in your den, you'll have something a lot like you have at your desk at work.
Meanwhile, someone else thought a little bit differently about the mobile phone industry. And that brings us to the second reason as to why Microsoft did not become a giant of the phone industry: Steve Jobs. You see, when Steve Jobs returned to Apple in the late 1990s, Apple was a dying company and was weeks away from going bankrupt. But slowly, with several innovations such as the iPod, iTunes, the Power Macintosh, the iMac, and the iTouch, Apple had gained significant ground in the personal computer and computer accessories market. So in the early to mid-2000s, Windows was no longer the only operating system available on the market, as Apple had a resurgence and was able to take about a 10% share of the operating system market. And because of this resurgence, Apple had enough capital to invest in a new product that could merge all of your devices into one. That was the iPhone.
Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. We're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
The iPhone was released in 2007 and immediately took the world by storm. And for the first time in nearly 3 decades, Microsoft no longer had the most popular operating system in the world, nor did it have the most popular web browser in the world. This was because the likes of iOS, Android, Safari, and Google Chrome had entered the industry during that time. Now, Microsoft eventually tried to release its own smartphone in 2010 called the Windows Phone. However, they were 3 years too late, and the market was already saturated, so the phone was discontinued. Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer called missing the smartphone market as their biggest regret in business. However, they were able to create other products during that time. For example, they released Windows Vista, Windows 7, Bing, Xbox 360, Xbox Live, Microsoft Surface, Microsoft Outlook, and Microsoft Azure. They also acquired some big companies at the time like Skype and Nokia. Now, when 2013 came around, Microsoft was still worth hundreds of billions of dollars, but it was becoming more of a backseat thought to the other tech companies like Google, Apple, Facebook, Netflix, and Amazon. It was at this point that Steve Ballmer decided to step down as CEO and appoint Satya Nadella as the new CEO of the company. And right after he became CEO, the company decided to purchase a gaming company called Mojang, who are the creators of Minecraft. The company also decided to purchase the programming platform GitHub, as well as the social network LinkedIn. Now, during all of these acquisitions, Satya was laser focused on one part of Microsoft's business: cloud computing. You see, Microsoft Azure has grown at an insane rate over the last few years, like really insane. There have actually been some quarters where Azure has grown 100% in sales. And it is the growth of Azure that has made Microsoft one of the leading cloud computing companies in the world behind Amazon. Because of the success of Azure along with Microsoft's other businesses, Microsoft was able to reclaim the title of the most valuable company in the world in 2019. But it hasn't all been positive news. Paul Allen resigned from the board of Microsoft in 2000 and hadn't really spent too much time at Microsoft past this date. However, he did have several other business ventures apart from Microsoft. Like in 1997, he bought a young startup company called Ticketmaster. He also invested several $1 billion into real estate and purchased the Portland Trail Blazers and Seattle Seahawks, all of which grew Allen's net worth by billions of dollars. Unfortunately, Allen's lymphoma returned in 2009, which was treated successfully until it unexpectedly returned in 2018, where he finally succumbed to the disease. But his legacy will live on. And to think that all of this, the gaming systems, the revolutionary operating systems, the battles with the United States government, the youngest billionaire in history, the internet browsing revolution, the cloud computing giant, a major cable network, tablets, search engines, word processors, office packages, all of this was created from a couple of teenagers in a computer club.
Yes, of course, it was created by a couple of teenagers, as you can see right there. That is the edition of our own tech giant show here on Empire Crypto TV. We're talking about the big guy himself, Bill Gates, whose net worth is $128 billion. That's a lot of money in this pocket or in his bank account. But there was something that came out about the man. I'm not sure, like, if like this is a unique image of the man himself, Bill Gates. Okay, I just want to show you Bill Gates. I thought he was, he was a good guy, but there are some of these images that are not so well established. I just want to get this image on the screen. Let's check this out. I don't know. Was he once arrested before? I don't know. I can see like he looks like he was once a convict. I don't know how much it took for this guy to get where he is today, man. Maybe there's some hidden stories that we've never heard of it before about Bill Gates himself. Him getting in trouble. There he looks like a guy's in trouble, but he looks happy and all. And he was young, but maybe got in trouble. Maybe he got in trouble because of cyber security, cyber things, but that was back in the day. This man right here has done a lot in terms of computing, in terms of the world of tech. He has contributed quite a lot. When I was young, this man was the first guy that I knew that he was the richest man in the world. I never knew the richest man in the world before, but I don't know who was the richest man before Bill Gates. Because Bill Gates, like, to be honest with you, when I knew about the richest man in the world, Bill Gates was the first guy that I knew to say that, what, this is the richest man in the world, and he had so much billion dollars in the bank account. But that was back in the day. Also, the Microsoft is still a thriving company. Talking about Microsoft is also listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The shares are on the offers. You can invest on Microsoft. You can buy shares on Microsoft. Just to show you some data, my computer can be a bit slow. I don't really like that, but it happens. But we are on the show Empire Crypto TV. You do understand these mechanics and these workings. Looking at Microsoft right there on top, you can see there's a small Microsoft Corp. It's under the shares. Per share, Microsoft cost you $288 per share. Unlike other shares, Google, you have also Google up here. See how much Google. It has also been getting knocked because of these news that are happening in the West concerning Russia and Ukraine, but we'll go through that in detail. You see, the charts are similar. This is a Google chart, and now I also just showed you the Microsoft chart, also quite similar in a range, just because all the markets as a whole are affected in a coloration, and they've been in a colorated manner since this threats of war has begun. But that was Microsoft, looking into Microsoft. But now let's jump into the markets. Let's look at the BTC, the main cryptocurrency, thriving at $38,732 per coin at this hour in the afternoon if you are in Africa. Okay, if you are anywhere else in the world, maybe might be in the morning, maybe in the day, but right now, all over worldwide, cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. Okay, let me just say Bitcoin, not cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is trading at $38,000 per coin. Now, I have my support and my resistance here. Okay, since the news have been going back and forth, cryptocurrencies, the world assets or global markets have been affected. Okay, it's been a downtrend. But now lately, looking at the 1 hour chart, looking at the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin right now, it's been trying to get out of that bearish zone, and then at a support level, and then it hit at $36,000 per coin. That's my support level for now. Okay, if it goes lower than that, then I can expect more of that bearish trend forming, just because of the bad news that is coming out of Russia. If this thing is not settled down, the market will continue to be affected. Hopefully we go past it so that we can see some real actions happening in the market in terms of a bullish trends finally, trying to go back to that 2021 system where we went as far as the Bitcoin, where it went as far as almost $70,000 per coin. So my resistance here right now is at $39,000. So $39,000 and above. If Bitcoin goes to $40,000, which is a mark that I'm hoping to see, because another resistance, okay, it's at 40,000, maybe not $39,000, but at $40,000 and above. I can tell you right now, because after this whole shenanigan and this whole story in Russia goes to past, or goes away, or after all this Russian thing has been settled, I can assure you that the markets will come back stronger than before, including the cryptocurrencies and other global assets as well. But for the dollar, it will take a knock, because it has been taking a rise since this situation has exploded throughout the world. And of course, I just want to look through the news themselves. What are they saying? What is the latest about these war rumors of war? But it has affected also the main capital of all businesses, which is the Wall Street. Now, article came out 1 hour ago. Wall Street sleeps as Ukraine declares emergency. Wow. Okay. Now that's bad news. If you're a trader and investor all over the world, and all over the world, when you hear these news all over the world, they are affecting the markets themselves. Looking at the size, US 30 right there. US 30 has been looking, because it is pegged with the US dollar. And then Dow Jones, they're thriving, trying to have that green zone going on. But, there's not much red happening, okay? US stocks fell on Wednesday as Ukraine declared a state of emergency. Wow. Now, Ukraine now, they are declaring a state of emergency. Their president, by the way, there is not even in the country. He can't even return to his own country. This situation can be a mess at the same time. Let me continue reading. While reports of cyber attacks on several of its state websites fueled fears about escalating tensions with Russia. Russia is one of the top tech countries in the world. Top tech countries in the world. Remember, there was a time when Hillary Clinton was accused of receiving emails from Russia and so forth, and talking about cyber relations with the Russians. So Russians, when you talk about cyber, they are on top of their game. I don't know if they are competing with the Chinese or what, but Russia, like when it comes to tech, they are one of the biggest, or if not the biggest countries dealing with tech. Also Israel as well. After opening higher, 8 of the 11 major S&P 500 sectors fell. Okay, S&P 500 fell. Let's see that. But it looks like it's positive right there. Sectors fell, while a 2.3% drop in the Nasdaq. Tesla, which talk about Tesla. Tesla fell. Okay, took a knock. Dragged the Nasdaq lower. 20 of the 30 Dow components were trading in the red. Wow. So the situation is still tight back in Russia. There is not much certainty. People are still looking at this situation with uncertainty. There is no certainty. Russians are sending troops. Russians are denying. People are pleading negotiation talks. Nothing is quite clear what's happening. Until something clear happens, hopefully we'll be seeing the clarity of the market itself as well. Other stories came, I know, back with CNN. CNN released stories, Joe Biden with his warning. Okay, February 2022, Ukraine Russia crisis news, what we covered here. All right, okay, I just wanted to read. US President Joe Biden described the event. Sorry, what happened to that? Okay, U.S. President Joe Biden described the event underway in Ukraine as the beginning of a Russian invasion, as he announced new sanctions to punish Moscow. So sanctions have came out against Russia already, and the president of Ukraine has been pleading with Western countries to put sanctions against Moscow, against Russia itself. And Russia across Europe is the biggest gas provider, and that can be a messy situation. So it means, like, Russia can also pull some strings as themselves, because they are a very powerful country, because they hold a lot of gas. Okay, the U.S. Secretary of State said he canceled his meeting with Russia's foreign minister. So there's already separations and divisions. Instead of negotiations, there is separations. Okay, Russia's foreign minister, which was set to take place Thursday in Geneva, which is tomorrow. Okay, the latest moves from the U.S. come a day after President Vladimir Putin ordered troops into pro-Russian regions of eastern Ukraine. So Putin himself, this man, is ordering the troops to go to eastern Ukraine. Another one comes from Australia. Okay, Australia, South Pacific Ocean, right there, just beneath the Indian Ocean. Okay, we can talk and say Australia imposes sanctions against Russia, warns a full-scale invasion could happen within 24 hours. Those are big news that this man, this president, has just announced. Is he sure? Is he certain that Vladimir Putin is gonna attack? Because if he attacks, well, it's a new day and it's a new ugly day. Okay. Okay. Australia is the latest country to announce sanctions against Russia, with Prime Minister Scott Morrison unveiling new measures Wednesday in response to the aggression of Russia against Ukraine. Now, putting sanctions against Russia, will it ease the situation or will it make it worse? I don't know what kind of man is Vladimir Putin is, but I am not sure if this move could resolve or make any resolution. But because now the negotiations are not working very well with the other leaders, so sanctions are the solution against Russia. To sanction Russia and Moscow is the final act that most of these leaders across the world are willing, not across the world, maybe in Europe and those NATO countries, those 30 NATO countries. So NATO, I think they are for Ukraine. They're trying to fight for Ukraine, but Ukraine itself is struggling to defend itself and its freedom. Let's look at the coin market cap, the overall cryptocurrency, Bitcoins, how they are doing. It's green and red, healthy but not healthy at the same time. Uncertainty as well is, of course, engulfing the investments or overclouding investment psychology right now. Market cap is just below 2 trillion with 1.7 market cap. All right. BTC still holds the highest dominance with 41.6%, and Ethereum comes after 18.5%. Now, going down also, let us look at the coin market cap. Okay, Ethereum down 11.64%. Okay, Tether, interesting, The reason why you see Tether because it's a dollar-pegged stable coin. In this situation, when the Bitcoin is not doing well, the Tether is likely to be green most of the time. Why? Because it's a stable coin pegged with the dollar. And when the dollar goes up, the stable coin Tether goes up as well. When the dollar goes down, the stable coin also goes down. So it being a pegged coin will react differently as to compares to other cryptocurrencies or altcoins on the list on coinmarketcap.com. Let us look at the top 10. Who's thriving? Who is the biggest gainers? Let's look at the biggest gainers. Looking at the biggest Australian crypto coin, green line. Let's see the biggest gainers. Now, remember, in cryptocurrencies, there are a lot of altcoin, other projects that take place, other investments that people can engage on. So Australian crypto coin green, interesting to know about the Australian crypto coin. That one looks like that Aziza logo. But anyway, MetaPlay for Metaverse, okay. MetaPay with up by 390, okay. Meta Dragon City, you know, Doge rise up, Meta Doge Colony. Most of these coins are simply unfamiliarized with the mainstream crypto coins that we are familiar with. But either way, they are doing well for themselves at this point in time. They are the biggest gainers, despite the fact that the cryptocurrencies and other global assets are taking a knock because of what's happening in Russia today. So, fellow cryptocurrency watchers, fellow Empire Crypto audience, Empire Crypto TV is about to go out. I thank you very much for joining me this afternoon, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. We'll be here, same time, same place. My name is Stone. Thank you very much, and do join us the next time. It will be greatly appreciated. Thank you, and thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.